Today I'm going to talk about a car that was a sales flop. They only made it from 2005 to 2007, the Ford 500. But they weren't actually that bad of a car. And this one's even more of a rare one. It's an all-wheel drive job. Very handy in Wisconsin. Now the Ford 500 was meant to be the replacement of the Ford Taurus. The 500 name coming from their Galaxy 500 line. They took the 500 number, and it had a lot of Volvo technology in the suspension system. Because back when they made these, Ford owned Volvo, and they put some good ride into these vehicles. They're excellent riding vehicles. My neighbor next door right here had one. He loved it. Now they did have their shortcomings, mainly under the hood. They had a rather small V6 engine, and in this particular case, it's not only all-wheel drive, but it has a CVT transmission, constantly variable transmissions, so it was pretty much a dog when it came to full-blown acceleration. Now back in the day, I drove the 500s that had the 6-speed automatic transmission, and they were actually pretty quick vehicles. But the 6-speed automatic transmission was a much weaker one than the CVT transmission. I saw them go out as early as 30,000 miles. My neighbor next door had the CVT version. He never had a transmission problem, and I didn't see any of my customers have problems with them either. They are slower. There's no arguing that. It's not a race car with the CVT transmission, and especially with all-wheel drive. But take this example. Customer bought it a year ago for $3,000 in Wisconsin. A lot of snow in Wisconsin. I've never been there in the winter, but I've been there in the summer, and I asked them, what are those big poles up in the air with red on top? And they say, well, that's so the snowplow can see the road when they plow it up. And those things were like 12 feet up in the air. So snow's a lot there. He said it really worked good in the snow. And this one's still purring along. They can be a great knock-around car these days, because even though these things are a foot shorter than the big old Crown Vics, they actually have more room inside, front to back, than the Crown Vic does. And just check out the trunk. They're massive. They just go on and on and on into the darkness here. Now with the Volvo-derived suspension and airbag system, Volvos are always safe vehicles. These are nice riding cars and extremely safe. Not just the size of the vehicle, but it's got all that Volvo airbag technology behind it. And like I said, the engine's no speed demon, but it's a tried and true V6 with timing chain, not timing belt engines. They can last a long as you change the oil and don't overheat them. And this one might be 15 years old. It's still got killer AC, a lot of volume, and a lot of cold air. It's a nice looking cabin, got some wood trim, comfy seats, and real easy to drive. And sure, it's not a race car. It's also not a real economical car. Although on the highway, now this thing only gets about 20 miles a gallon in the city. My neighbor, who drives slower, admittedly, he was getting 35 miles a gallon on the highway with the CVT transmission. You lose the acceleration power, but man, you can get a lot better gas mileage with one. And as I said earlier, strangely enough, the CVT in these things is actually the more dependable transmission. The 6-speed automatics broke down a lot. They had a lot of problems, but the CVTs were actually better built transmissions. Even though they have less acceleration, hey, if you get a car this big and you can get 35 miles a gallon on a highway, that's pretty good. And even though this one's 15 years old, parts are readily available. It's a Ford. I had no problems. I'm doing a brake job on this one. Took me 5 seconds to find the brake pads. Drove down the street, took a minute to get them. They're still easy to get parts for. You won't have any problems when it comes to having to fix them. So the $3,000 my customer paid for this, hey, I thought he got a pretty good deal. It's a decent car. He does HVAC work. He's always driving around fixing air conditioning. Puts the tools in the trunk. You saw all the room in that trunk. It's a decent work car, really. And sure, it's a grandpa looking car to some extent, but hey, for $3,000, hey, you got a good deal on this car. It's got front and rear disc brakes. I mean, I kind of wondered why they stopped making them, but since the 6-speed automatics had so many problems, that gave people a lot of sour grapes. Most of the customers of mine that bought these got the 6-speed automatic that broke all the time. The ones that got the CVT that wanted good gas mileage and drove slow, they loved them. I did have some customers that bought them with CVTs and they hated them. They said that thing is so slow, it won't get out of its own way. They didn't like the vehicle at all. So the combination of those two things, that's probably pretty much what led to the death knell of them in 2007, which was the last year that they built them. But if you can find one of these all-wheel drive versions with the CVT, and you live up north in the snow, this car came from Wisconsin. There's no rust on it. They rust-proof cars a lot better than they used to. Seal them so they don't rust. It spent most of its life in Wisconsin. It just came down here. Doesn't have any appreciable rust on it at all. So now you know a little bit more about the Ford 500 and why, hey, you might take a chance with a good used one that's in nice shape like this. For a few $1,000s, you might get a great beater car. I'm going to tell you the truth about Honda Pilots, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, the Pilots were originally made in Canada. Now, they make them in Alabama. So we got the good old Alabama boys building them now. If you would have told somebody decades ago that Alabama boys are going to be building Japanese sports utility vehicles, what's the world come to? And they make a decent vehicle. It has its pluses and its minuses like any other vehicle. Let's go to this particular one, which is a 2012. As you can see, it was made in Alabama. Got 115,769 miles on it. And it's got a lot of the bells and whistles any modern car has. Dual air conditioning systems, a nice screen on it, comfy leather seats, and when we go to the back, a heck of a lot of room for seats and things you can carry if you fold them down. As we let it open itself up, you can see it's got a lot of space. There's no arguing that. You can put a lot of people in one of these. When this thing was new in 2012, it had the best EPA gas mileage for an 8-passenger vehicle with 3-row seating that was sold in the United States. Now, you got to take something into consideration there. This particular one in town gets a whopping 16 miles a gallon. It's just that back in 2012, when you had 3-row seating and 8-passenger vehicles, hey, they didn't get such hot gas mileage, especially in town. But let's face it, that's not what you buy a big vehicle like this for. You want comfort. You want long range. Now under the hood, a reliable Honda V6 engine, not race-worthy by any stretch of the imagination on this heavy vehicle. And as for the transmission itself, are a little bit weak. I even asked my transmission expert, and he said, well, Scotty, when you get 130, 140,000 miles, a lot of times you'll start feeling the shifting get a little jerky. You can rebuild it and fix it, of course, but he also said they might go well over 200,000. They'll still go down the road, but they just won't shift quite as well when they get that higher mileage. These are not the same clunkers that they put in the Honda Odysseys that had all those problems where Honda had to replace a lot of transmissions for free. These are really reliable 5-speed automatic transmissions up to a certain point. This particular 2012 is especially good the way it's set up because it's only 2-wheel drive. It just has drive shafts in the front. The back wheel's just freewheel. So this is a front wheel drive. Now they do make all-wheel drive versions, but I advise people not to buy them because my customers who did, many of them had automatic transmission problems. And if you got to repair an automatic transmission on an all-wheel drive vehicle, price just gets astronomical because of all the extra stuff that has to be taken off because it's all-wheel drive. So if you're thinking about getting a Pilot, my advice, stick to front-wheel drive. Now the downside of this car is a lot of people complained that the handling and ride wasn't exactly what they wanted, that it was a little stubby handling and its ride was a little rough. But a comparable vehicle, the Acura MDX, which rides a lot better, has more power. Take a 2020 Acura MDX. They start at $44,500. Same company makes them, Honda makes Acura. Where a 2020 Honda Pilot, it starts $31,500. Now that's a $13,000 difference. Do you really want that little bit extra power and a little bit better handling and a little bit smoother ride that you're going to spend $13,000 for? Not old Scotty, I'm too cheap for that. Sort of like in the olden days, people would say, oh, I'm going to buy a Lincoln. And I'd say, why don't you buy a Ford? It's the same company. They just charge more money for the Lincolns. They got a little bit extra chrome and a few fancy things. But it's the same basic car made by the exact same company. So let's say you're looking for an 8-passenger, 3-row seating SUV. I'd go for a Pilot before I'd go for the Acura. It's the same company. And I'd say the $13,000 difference myself. Of course, I'm so cheap, I wouldn't buy a new either one. I'd wait till they got older and buy a used one and pay less than $13,000 for the whole car. Not just save $13,000. Now, if we go to the reliability of one of these pilots, they're pretty reliable vehicles. There's no arguing that. Like I said, I wouldn't buy the all-wheel drive version because they can lead to some very expensive repairs down the line. But I do have to say, every single customer of mine that bought a Honda Pilot, the first 100,000 miles, I mean, the only thing I would do would be change the oil and filter, maybe the brake pads, and maybe a fan belt. That's about it. They're well-made vehicles. Now, yes, this is a heavy vehicle. It's over 2 tons. The weight is like 4,500 pounds. So they're not light vehicles. You're not going to get fantastic gas mileage. You're not going to get perfect handling. You want something to take 8 people all over the country in, hey, you might think about one of these. And if you take the non-Honda competition to it, like let's say a Toyota Highlander, these things, they handle better and ride better than the Highlanders do. Just like people who often want a sports sedan, they'll get an Acura car that handles pretty sporty, but it's still a 4-door sedan. Well, people that are looking for kind of a sports SUV and they want to go lower price, Pilot's a decent choice. Sure, the Acura MDX is a lot more fun to drive. That's a lot more horsepower, handles better, but hey, like I said, they start at $13,000 more than these babies do. In all honesty, I have to say I don't have a single customer that ever bought a new Honda Pilot and didn't like the car. They were all pretty happy. Now used, most of my customers are still happy with the used Pilot they bought, with the exception of a couple of them that got all-wheel drive ones and the transmission went out and it cost them a fortune. And one poor soul that didn't have me check out the car before they bought it, and it turns out they bought a car that had been flooded out and had one of those stupid salvage titles. You can call it salvage, it can say reconditioned. They got a lot of names for it, but that means it was totaled by an insurance company. In the case of my poor customer, I started doing some research and found out that that car had been flooded out in Hurricane Sandy of all things, and some evil swine took it from New Jersey and retitled it through different states and sold it in Texas, and they didn't know what had happened to it until it was too late. And I do have to say that I would have found out it was a flooded car if they would have paid me to check it out before they bought it. They bought it from this really sleazy guy on Craigslist, and then when they called them back, he never returned the calls, and it was just a cell phone. Yeah, they couldn't find out who owned the stupid thing, and the title wasn't even in the guy's name. It was some guy originally owned it in New Jersey when it was flooded out in Hurricane Sandy. So have a guy like me check out a used car before you buy it. Don't trust anybody except the mechanic who's testing it out for you. And even then, make sure it's an honest guy, because say you're looking at a Honda. If the only thing the guy works on are Hondas, he might have an ulterior motive. Oh God, he's gonna buy that. I'm gonna make a whole bunch of money. Tell you a car's good when it isn't. And a guy like me that works on all kinds of cars can tell you, yeah, that's a good car. No, look somewhere else. We'll tell you the truth about it mechanically and electronically so you can make your own decisions. So now you know the truth about Honda Pilots and why you might choose this over, say, an MDX that costs $13,000 more. Okay, today we got a brand new 2023 Ridgeline. Is it good? Is it bad? Why did the guy buy it? Of all the trucks that are out there? Well, you're going to find out so you can make a wise decision yourself. He had 4 Toyota Camrys. That's all he had, right? Average 10-year each. Hey, he's gotten his money's worth, right? So he drove the Camry and he thought, I'll try out this Honda Ridgeline. And his friend said, oh, they're going to think we're girlies driving this thing around. It's a girly car. It is not a girly truck. It is what you might call a specialty truck. Honda said they built them for Honda owners that want to get a pickup truck. Well, he was a Toyota driver and he didn't get a Toyota pickup. He got this because he likes the way that this thing rides. Because unlike my son's Tacoma, which has a full frame, this Ridgeline is a unibody construction. It rides much better, the Honda. And with the Honda suspension system, he got in this thing and he said, I'm not even gonna go to the Ford dealer. I'm gonna buy this thing. Now you might say, why didn't you get a Ford Maverick? Well, the Maverick's built in Mexico. This is built in the United States, right? He didn't want to mess with something that was brand new made in Mexico. I don't blame him. And now that I see they've been out for a little while and they're having a lot of problems, probably a smart move. But these only come in all-wheel drive, And Honda makes pretty good all-wheel drive systems. He's not going to get stuck. He said it went fine in the snow, the one big snow in Tennessee, a few inches, right? He's not pulling tons. You can pull 5,000 pounds with this, but that's not why he got this. Something's going to last a long time. Hondas generally last a long time. He's not pulling a lot of weight. He didn't care about a gigantic bed. Now, as you can see, it's got a regular tailgate bush. There's a little handle, and voila! The best of both worlds. And since it's a Honda, it's probably not going to break. Now, under here, as you can see, nice space. There is a drain under here. So you can use this as a giant ice bucket if you want, or leave the drain shut. You can put your luggage and suitcase in it. And check this out. What's hiding in here? You got yourself 115-volt receptacle. One guy uses a TV here, has tailgate parties, and watch this. There's speakers hiding in here. Check it out. Well, what do they think of next? Now, when you look at it, you think, oh, that's all plastic, but I don't know, the sound goes through it. It sounds really good. So, typical Japanese fashion, Honda keeps improving these things. Now, they're not like Ford, Ram, everybody else. Oh, every few years we got to refresh it, we got to change it. No. They really don't do that. But see, Honda's not competing with Ram, Chevy in the pickup wars. They know it. They generally sell around 40,000 of these every year, like clockwork, right? Because people buy them, they want a particular truck like this, they're totally happy with it. He wants a nice ride. He doesn't want a full frame that doesn't ride as nice. And he didn't want a chance at Maverick. I don't blame him. He made a wise decision. The Maverick, all the problems those things are having, got a very reliable V6 Honda engine, the 3.5 liter. It does have that stupid stop-start feature. So he watches my videos. Every time he starts it, he pushes turn off the start-stop. So it doesn't. He drives this thing for Uber. He doesn't want the annoyance, and he knows that's going to wear your engine out faster. It's just a gimmick people are throwing in. At least Honda's got the button. You push it every time, and voila, that's his habit. Get in, start truck, push button, and then he didn't have to think about it anymore. If you own one, I advise doing that. The only downside, you can see here where the plastic covers is, it does have a rubber timing belt. So he's supposed to change every 100,000 miles. He usually keeps his vehicles 100,000 miles, and you want the absolute truth about it. I worked on the original Hondas that had the two-cylinder motorcycle engine, right? I've seen these things with 200,000 miles on them. The timing belt was never touched, and they still ran perfectly fine. That's a gamble you'd have to take because they are interference engines. But Honda makes them pretty well, and you know how many of these timing belts that I've seen broke? Okay, technically, I saw one, and it was the original Acura V6, right? And it had 370,000 miles with the original belt. And I told the customer, okay, here's what's going to cost. He says, oh, that thing's old, I don't care. And then eventually it broke, and then he just sent it to a junkyard. It's considering that he bought it new when he put 375,000 miles. I'd say he got his money out of the car. And it's got a memory seat, all kinds of buttons for your phone. We'll turn that off so we don't have to listen to it. Simple cruise control. It's intelligent cruise control. Economy, if you want to get a little bit better gas mileage. You can have parking sense on or off. Lane change. You can turn that stuff off. Traction control. Heated seats. Both sides. One of the things I like is, look, your whole control system here. Look, it was designed, it fits right in. I like something like this. I don't like things sticking up. That's just me. I want a clear view. These are specialty trucks. It does have a sunroof. Now I'm trying out a new scan tool. This is like a $370 scan tool. It's called RT Diag Pro, top down. We'll see how it works. Now I'm doing this because a lot of people say, Scotty, you're always using that fancy $5,000 scan tool. We're never gonna blah, blah, blah. Well, this one's only $375. We'll see what it can do. Now we're gonna have to wait a second because I just updated the firmware. You can see it's updating it. And the company claims you get 2 years of free firmware updating, so we'll see how that works over time. That's like one of those slot machines. The numbers are coming up. There it is. Notice it's a 2023 Honda. And the transmission, all these different systems so far. Looks like it's doing quite a bit for a $370 scan tool. Code for the BCM. Lost communication with power window master switch. Power C control lost communication with power master switch. Maybe got wet or something. One is the AC system. Lost communication with the power window master switch. What the AC system has to do with the master switch is beyond me. Now we can see they're all gone, so let's look at some live data. We'll start her up. we'll look at live data. See, we get a lot of data. It's got 303 points, so we'll select them all and start looking at them. First thing I noticed, it's different than my other scan tools in that normal is blue. Usually it's black. This is blue. So let's start going through stuff. Fuel ratio is almost perfect, 0.99. Every once in a while it goes to 1. There it is, 1.00, which is perfect. And look at all this data it has for the air fuel system. This is just all air fuel system data. Battery's normal charging voltage. Even shows you the battery sensor current, which presently is 18.38 amps. Temperatures, perfect. See cylinder misfire, 0 all the way down. Shows you with the inverter that this thing has. See, this particular scanner does an awful lot of information. Now, you'll see it's a little slower than my fancy one. See, you got to wait for it to fill in. My other one's instantaneous. This, when you scroll up, if you get through a certain amount, you got to wait for them to come. But then they come up. And all the data looks good. And if you're curious what it all looks like, here we go. Watch. Remember, there's 320 of these babies. As we're here checking it out. Look at all the services it can do. Air, fuel reset, brake reset, oil reset, SAS reset, battery reset when you change your battery if you got a car that needs it. Bleeding the ABS system, resetting your tire pressure monitoring system, electronic throttle relearn, and more and more and more. Gear learn, intelligent cruise control system, all the way down to Windows calibration or tire reset if you change the size of your tire. So I gotta say, for 370 bucks or so, this looks like a pretty good scan tool so far. Stay tuned, we'll see how it goes over the years. Well, I was talking to the owner, I figured out what happened. Well, I had this call for the switch. He drives Uber and there was a wreck on the highway outside of Nashville, and he got out of the car, forgetting that he had left in drive. And when he opened up the door, the engine turned itself off. And he thought, what did I do? I ruined my new truck, right? Well, it's a safety thing. So you can't have it in gear and it'll be driving away when you got the door open. I've reset it. Odds are it's not going to come back unless I'm dumb enough to leave it driving and jump out the door. It saves both you and it saves your truck from driving away and hitting somebody else. So now we got it in reverse. You can see it's got a nice wide angle camera. I like that camera angle. I can see the lions. I can see the mailbox. I really have a good view. It's a really nice backup camera. I can't stand those little ones. This one is really good and I can see, okay, saying don't get too close to that mailbox, so I won't. First thing I see, it's smooth as can be. Like the owner said, he got in this thing, he drove and he said, man, this thing rides almost as good as my Camry, and he bought it. He didn't even bother looking at the Fords. Just because of the less on-sprung weight and other differences in flexibility, a unibody vehicle rides much smoother. That's one reason you see most vehicles being built that way. Aside from the fact that it's cheaper to build them that way. And they weigh less, so they get slightly better gas mileage. Let's get to our little drag strip here. Now, this isn't a screaming V8, it's a V6, and it is an all-wheel drive, so it's going to handle really good. Let's see how it takes off. And ready, steady, go. It just kicked in there. Now, the owner watched a lot of my videos, spent a lot of time deciding what to get, and he said he's totally happy, other than that stupid stop-start thing that he doesn't like. He's totally happy with what it does. He uses it for Uber. He likes going out in the country. He's not pulling any heavy loads. He can pull his boat or whatever he wants with the thing. It'll tow 5,000 pounds. And for a pickup truck, it's surprisingly quiet. The only thing I hear are the tires, which are relatively aggressive tread on this thing. If you like less noise, yeah, you can go for smoother tires. Very smooth shifting. It's Honda's 9-speed automatic, not CVT, and actual automatic, and it's smooth. And it also doesn't hunt for gears like the Fords often do. So what do I think about this? Is it a real truck? Well, in some respects, it's better than a real truck. Yeah, it's not a heavy load pulling truck, but for what it is, it's about as close as perfection as you can get. As you saw in this thing, it does not hunt for gears. With the unibody construction, a nice engine, 9-speed tranny, this thing is smooth. If you're looking for a smooth pickup that you can occasionally do trucky things with, you certainly can tailgate with that fancy tailgate. You might think about getting one of these things. So Honda, you know they're gonna last quite some time. Other than that stupid start-stop button you gotta keep pushing to turn it off, that's annoying as can be. You can drive it hard, still get mid-20s gas mileage in a truck that's as fast as this and fun to drive. The Ridgelines, they're not for everybody. But for the people who want a vehicle like this, pretty good choice. There aren't that many of them out there with all the features that this thing has. And sure, you're not going to be towing 15,000 pounds, you know? It's all-wheel drive, you're not going to get stuck anywhere, plenty high enough in the ground, and it's a Honda that will probably outlast you if you drive it conservatively enough. It's not a rock climber. You take it rock climbing, yeah, you'll probably flip the thing over, right? And you like a nice ride, road test one first. You know? I mean, I've road tested the Mavericks. I like the way they ride, but seeing that they're made in Mexico, I was always kind of iffy, and now I'm really iffy because I see people who have them and they have problems. I have customers with these things. One guy runs a plumbing company, and he's got all his plumbing tools on a cap on the back. He owns 2 of these things. He's got like $220 on each one, and he's still driving them. So they can be a work truck too. And if you're thinking about getting one, I'd just say, go road test one first. See what you think. He road tested this and he bought it. He didn't even road test on the other ones. And this is a guy who had nothing but Toyota Camrys. He wanted a truck. This is the truck he got. He didn't get the Toyota because he didn't like his sons, how it handled, how it drove on a highway, and he loves this. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.